Hello everyone, my name is Vikas Dayal and today we have with us IPS of 2021 batch, Paras. Let's welcome him to the interview.
Hello Vikas.
Hello. We are going to have this discussion in a sort of manner because Paras has had a unique journey. इन्होंने GS की कोचिंग नहीं करी थी, इन्होंने ऑप्शनल की कोचिंग नहीं करी थी, इन्होंने सारा एक जो अपना प्रोसेस था उसको सेल्फ स्टडी से ही करा था. बीच में इन्होंने अपना ऑप्शनल भी चेंज करा और ऑप्शनल भी इन्होंने खुद से ही पढ़ा. तो कई सारी यूनिक चीजें हैं इनकी जर्नी में. और इन्होंने जो आपसे ही हम पूछते हैं कि पहले दो आपके अटेम्प्ट थे 2018 और 19 में, तो उसमें आपका 18 और 19 में आपका 17-18 में आपका प्रीलिम्स नहीं हुआ था. तो और उसके बाद में 19 में आपका प्रीलिम्स पहली बार हुआ था. तो उस आप जर्नी के बारे में बताइए कि मतलब पहले क्यों नहीं हुआ था और बाद में आपने कंटिन्यूअसली 3 प्रीलिम्स क्लियर करे थे, बीच में एक बार सिलेक्शन हो गया था आपका. तो मतलब क्या आपने चेंज किया अपनी प्रीलिम्स की प्रिपरेशन को लेके?
जो इनिशियल अटेम्प्ट था मेरा 17 और 18 वाला, उसमें मतलब द बिगेस्ट फैक्टर वाज दैट आई वाज नॉट अटेम्प्टिंग मॉक टेस्ट्स. उस टाइम मैं मॉक टेस्ट करता नहीं था. आई यूज्ड टू थिंक कि ये नोट्स बार बार रिवाइज कर लूंगा, इसी से मेरा सिलेक्शन हो जाएगा. बट मुझे रियलाइज हुआ 19 वाले अटेम्प्ट में कि जितने मैं मॉक टेस्ट करता हूँ ना, उससे देयर इज दिस डेवलपमेंट ऑफ इनर इंस्टिंक्ट व्हाइल सॉल्विंग क्वेश्चंस दैट इवन व्हाइल यू डोंट नो द आंसर, there is this deduction techniques that come naturally to us while we are practicing adequate number of prelims mock tests. So I would say this was the main difference between my attempts in which I could not clear prelims and in which I could easily clear prelims.
So Paras, one thing that you can, if you can point out, if you can remember, in 2019, how many mock tests did you do, and like did you make notes of it or did you revise them, whatever mock tests that you did? So something on that.
So in my 2019 attempt, what I did was I used to attempt almost a single mock test almost every day in the last 3 months before the prelims examination. And for each test, I was doing a single test twice. First, I used to attempt it, and then I used to mark those questions which I was unable to recall or in which I had committed some errors. And in the evening of the next day, so like if I am attempting a test today, so tomorrow evening I'll be revising the test of previous day, and I'll be revising those marked points only. So which helped me in active recall and actively ingrained those aspects into my memory.
So basically, if we look at it roughly, so you did more than maybe 80 tests, 70 to 80, more than 70 to 80 prelims tests that you did in 2019. That definitely helped you.
Yes, Vikas.
And so that was the journey for your prelims. Something that you can point out, because after 2019 you have been writing your mains every year. So something that you can point out, because prelims is just 4 months away right now. So how should people proceed in these four months? So for example, this 1 month, the February that we have, 28th of May is the date of prelims. So how should people take this 1 month? How should they balance their prelims and mains preparation? If you can.
So especially for prelims, I would like to point out one technique that I had devised. The technique was that I never tried to complete a single paper in a go. I tried to bifurcate the paper into four parts. So I used to do like I used to think like I am attempting a 25 question exam, and I used to just focus on the initial 25 questions. I used to mark them in the question paper, and then I used to fill the answer sheet for especially those 25 questions. And I used to think that in this half an hour, I'll definitely have to complete those 25 questions. And then subsequently in another 30 minutes, I used to attempt like I used to virtually attempt 4 papers of 25 questions each.
Okay.
And one technique that I used while my preparation was that for every 25 questions, let's say this is February, and if you are see, one thing is that our mind gets tired when we are attempting 100 questions in a go. So while practicing before the exam, I used to always while practicing, I used to always take 25 questions in a go. I used to attempt 25 questions. Then I used to analyze those 25 questions.
You read the solutions.
For 25 questions, I used to read the solution in the initial days. Let's say when there are 3 months remaining for the exam. So in these days, analyzing 100 questions in a go is like very tiring on our brain. So for 25 questions, I used to analyze those 25 questions. And a technique that I had devised for myself was that out of those 25 questions, if I could attempt 17 questions as correct, and my technique usually revolved around attempting 23 to 24 questions out of 25 questions. So my overall attempt used to remain on the higher pedestal. My attempts in my prelims, the ones I successfully converted, were that my attempt number was between 92 and 95. And even if I am able to mark 16 or 17 questions correct out of those 25 questions, so my average came around like 68 questions as correct from 17 questions correct in each quad that I used to attempt.
That will give you more than 110 for sure.
That used to give me around 105 to 115. And even while attempting those mock tests, I used to score around 100, 112. So that way my memory used to, like, I used to recall things pretty easily. And whatever I used to analyze in those 25 questions, they were fed into my brain with a clear sense that I'll have to attempt just 25 questions without tiring my brain. And so this was the technique that worked
this
for
is
me.
something that was also told to me by a senior. She used to say that from January onwards you do 25 questions on a daily basis. You revise them because you get tired, etc.
Yes.
So that's what we do in the program as well. So right now in January people are attempting the 10,000 questions program that I run, that you do 10,000 questions, not in the way that you do 100 tests, 100 questions a day, but 25 questions a day from January, and then you gradually increase them.
Yes, Vikas. But what I would suggest is that 25 questions a day in these days is not enough.
So from February we are doing 50 and then we'll be doing 100.
We can start with 25 questions a day, and then it used to be like on a dynamic basis. And after a certain point, what I did was I never tried to attempt those questions subject wise. I used to like randomize all the questions. And I used to try, I always tried that I attempt some mock tests. Since mock test is like full length mocks, I used to divide those full length mocks into 25 questions. And this way we are challenging our brain to transmit from a question of quality to directly a question of economy. And in the exam conditions too, this similar thing happens in the exam conditions too.
Okay, so this is something really unique that comes up. People, so this is something that I have observed in the interviews. Like every person who is getting selected, they devise their own strategy and they really believe in it.
Yes.
So that really gives them success in like all parts of the exam. One thing I would like to ask from you, Paras, you did all your studies. Were you at home? Did you go to Rajendra Nagar? Although you are from Delhi, so you're already are in touch with the exam cycle and the coaching materials, etc. So you did everything on your own. So can you point out whether did you have like to the point guidance with you? Was there somebody guiding you how to go about it, or did you like learn from the YouTube videos, and how did you do it on your own?
So since my home is in Delhi, so there was no need of me to go to Rajendra Nagar or Karol Bagh. And I think in this virtual world wherein resources are available in plenty of amount, even the resources are available on Telegram channels, even on YouTube there are quite a lot number of resources available. So I never felt the need for going for any coaching institute or anything like that. But one thing I did for sure was that I tried to attempt a lot, many number of tests, as many number of tests that I can attempt. And I think what is necessary in this preparation is that I would repeat it again, that the number of mock tests that you attempt, even for mains, for prelims, that would be your guiding point for success.
And one important hurdle that people get is that, okay, you're thinking of doing a lot of mock tests this year, but people are not able to be consistent when they are like doing it on their own. So can you share something about like how were you able to be so much consistent? Because if you're doing one test every day, then you're reading also for prelims from the static books maybe. So what made you more consistent? Were you very consistent, or like what things did you have in your mind while starting your day on a daily basis? What motivated you, etc.? Can you say something?
So the first thing I did just after I woke up, the first thing I did was to attempt 25 questions in the morning itself.
Okay.
So that sets the pace for the day. And I used to attempt those 25 questions mainly from the PDFs available, mainly from the soft copies available. Since it would not be very wise to go to any test center, since it would be tiring for me. So the first thing, I used to sleep with my laptop or iPad along with me. And the first thing I did in the morning was to attempt those 25 questions. And I think it is quite necessary to have a large to have a question bank with large number of questions, and that those questions are not should not be like outdated questions. Those questions should be the latest ones with quite a good number of questions having incorporation of current affairs. Let's say if we are doing 25 questions, then 10 questions out of those 25 questions
should have some linkage
some linkage with the current affairs that are relevant in the present day. What people usually do is tend to attempt previous year questions. But what I have seen is that those previous year questions are relevant not for economy. They are relevant only for some of the static subjects, and especially for history. I would say history and art and culture. That is, I would say, enough for attempting previous year questions. Apart from that, for economy, for polity, previous year questions are not as relevant. Even for environment, I would say, people start attempting previous year questions. Instead, since the concepts are changing in static questions rarely come in the prelims. So what I used to do was that these test series tests available in the market, especially for economy and environment, I used to attempt those tests, which are the new ones, which are having updated content and which have a lot of relevance with respect to current affairs.
Okay, so let's move on to the mains part, because you scored 416, if I'm correct, in the latest attempt that you gave, and also in 2021, when you also appeared in the mains, you scored 104, which is equivalent to, maybe in some years it is equivalent to 130 in GS paper 3. So so Raj Krishna is another friend of mine who is also an IPS or 22 batch. So he got 108, and he said that he made a lot of flowcharts and diagrams. So what did you do to get those many marks? One of the highest marks, I would say.
So for GS3, one factor for me was that my optional was economics, and I had a lot of coherence with the concepts. Those concepts were quite easy for me. And if you observe GS3 paper of 2021, then you could see that there were some static questions which were like from basic economics, and many of the people were not thorough with the basic concepts of economics, and they were not able to write.
So there was one question, GDP changed from 2005 to 2011.
That was a basic factual and basic question for me. But many people tend to read economy in a prelims manner, prelims oriented manner. So, and also with the incorporation of with economics option, there comes the concept of a lot of graphs that I used to make. And for economics paper 2, I had already studied all the statistics, the trends. Even if I would suggest that for scoring in GS3, there are only 3 things that are important. One is the I would not say that you should remember statistics, but you should be aware of the general trend of the if you are aware of the general trend in agricultural growth, that what has been the trend in GDP growth, what points, what years have been like remarkable years for India, and when is the growth not falling through in I would say about the subprime crisis of 2008. And these things people usually are aware of, but they are not able to represent their knowledge through adequate use of graphs, flowcharts.
So did you there are a few things I have interacted with people who got marks in this subject, and some say that in GS paper 3 along graphs is one thing that you show, just like in the economic survey,
especially about the trends.
Yes,
trend should be
so trend graphs are there in the economic survey, just like that. You made graphs, and most of the people are not making it, and your copy stands out and also shows your understanding of the subject. Apart from that, did you also make these pie diagrams and bar diagrams, and did you do that, or flowcharts where you were showing vicious virtuous cycle?
What basic issue that I faced was that I am not good with I'm not good with drawing pie charts.
Okay.
But I usually am good at drawing those flowcharts. And so I made adequate use of my strength, that if I'm good with making graphs
so you made a lot of graphs,
a lot of flowcharts.
And then for security, you made your diagrams of India and the borders, etc. Did you do that?
Since I'm not from geography optional, mainly people from geography optional tend to make excess use of these maps. But I was not thorough with, and my practice was not of making maps. So what I usually did was I tried to cover as much points as possible with multiple perspective, economic perspective, political perspective, and I made I made different sections like political aspects, economic aspects,
Mhm.
and political implications, economic implications, social implications of any, even in a question of internal security.
Mhm.
And if you are able to represent your points, if you are able to convey your message, then I think it is enough. And overuse of graphs, diagrams is also,
If it is not fitting into the
if
question.
it is not fitting into the question, then it is not much scoring for you, and even the examiner might get frustrated if you are making unnecessary graphs in every question.
One कोई नहीं, बीच में काट लेंगे। ना ना अभी हो रहा है, बीच में काट लेंगे थोड़ा सा, थोड़ी देर बस 10-15 मिनट और ले लेंगे। माहौल सा बन रहा है। आज बैठ जाओ उधर, आ जाओ कैमरा के बीच में। So one thing that all the people are very worried about is that should we make notes of like GS paper 1, 2, 3 and 4? Did you have your own notes made by your own hands, or did you use some topper's notes or some notes which can be revised in a very short time? So what of the above did you have?
So I think this strategy would not work with many of the people, but I never made any of my notes for my preparation.
Okay.
What I relied on was that I had notes from any coaching source which were readily available in the market, on the internet, or I would read some of the toppers notes, which I mainly used for quick revision. But what I would suggest is that if you are reading any of the notes, then it should not be like you are reading it just once. You should be thorough with those notes. If you are using someone else's notes, if you are using notes from any training institute or any coaching industry notes, then I would say that you should be thorough enough that you have read those notes around 4 to 5 times. If you're not making your own notes, it is also better. If you're making your own notes, then it's also fine. But I never made my own notes.
For optional also, did you follow the same trend?
For optional, especially for economics optional, what I tried to do was that for paper 1, I used to attempt a lot of questions, previous year questions. And for paper 2, there were like trends, statistics, which I had prepared. I did not prepare like complete notes. I tried to prepare those aspects which are to be crammed. And if you are cramming something, then it is, I would say, better to have our own notes for those material.
So Paras, one thing that people emphasize a lot is that you should have good understanding of the syllabus, etc. But one thing that I've noted in a lot of toppers is that they have memorized, at least like if we talk about one topic, then they can reproduce like 10-15 points in a very quick manner. So did you also do that? That you if I talk about inclusive growth from the GS paper 2, GS paper 3, then like a lot of points will directly come to your mind.
Yes.
So that was there.
This is something very necessary for mains exam. That if any topic comes to your mind, then almost 10 to 15 points should be ready within your brain. That there are 10 to 15 points that you can write, you can think of within like 10 seconds. And if you are not thorough with that concept, with that understanding, it takes a lot of time to think in the exam, or you will miss out on certain points which after the exam you will think that I could have written this aspect.
So Paras, just a couple of more things that I would like to know from you. Since you prepared on your own for prelims, you said that from 2019 onwards you started like doing a lot of mock tests, and it must be true that after 2019 when you did so many tests, then in 2020 you did not feel the need maybe of like doing those many tests because you already made notes of it and you already memorized it. So for mains, as I talked to you before, you did not attempt much tests, but you did a lot of some brainstorming or something like that. So this is also one method of doing your answer writing in your brain. So how did you like memorize that content, and how did you prepare it according to the syllabus need and the PYQ needs? So can you elaborate something on that?
So I would not say that my strategy would be perfect for this, but I think for mains preparation, my strategy was quite different. I'm quite lazy, that I don't usually tend to write mock tests. I never prefer to write mock
for GS mains,
especially for GS. Sometimes what I used to do was that I used to pick up 7 questions at once. I used to devote 1 hour for it. I used to write just 7 questions, answer to those 7 questions, and I used to evaluate, ask my friend or anyone else to evaluate those tests. But for your question regarding some notes or anything like that, those basic aspects, like since you are talking about inclusive growth, since you are talking about poverty, I had some basic points about poverty inside my inside in my memory, and I could write those points right away. So
So how did
I
you?
had this confidence that if there is if any question comes on poverty, I have those points. If any question is coming on unemployment, I have my points ready. If any question about medieval India is there, then I have some of the points ready. And in fact, the only notes that I made was for history, since I could not recall any everything every single time. So I had my own notes ready, especially for just the history part.
One thing that since you're talking about how you memorize content and you had certain points in your memory, so how do you fix those points? What is the process of it?
Multiple times I used to revise those points. If I am reading some notes, I would not like to name the institute or anything, but if I have summary notes of any let's say compilations of any of the means notes, then I would revise those same points multiple times. In fact, in the first go, I used to take around 2 days to complete that document, but post that I used to revise that single document within 1 hour. And while scrolling through that document, if anyone is reading any document, the first time it would be like much taxing on your brain, on the efforts that you're going to make, but subsequent revisions should be quite fast enough with points stored in your memory, and you are just revising through those points. And when you are revising anything multiple times, statistics of one get inside your mind quite easily, and then you are able to reproduce those points and those statistics. You would have seen that I focus a lot on statistics, because facts and statistics are something that gives beauty to your answer. Every generic points, everyone would be writing those same generic points, but if you are able to substantiate those generic points with some facts and statistics, that makes your answer different.
So that gives that makes you look more knowledgeable, or
Yes.
gives substantiation to your
Yes,
answer.
substantive. If you are see, out of 10,000 people writing means almost everyone would be writing the same political implications, economic implications, social implications. But what makes your answer different is that you can use this one trick of making graph flowchart. I would try to go the other way. I would try to remember some statistics, some facts that are unique, and I would like to accompany my points with some facts or statistics with every point.
And these facts and statistics you memorize from the compilations and
From compilations. I used to since I'll repeat that for my economics paper too, there is a need of a lot of statistics and facts, and for that I used to compile a complete document, especially with respect to I used to compile those facts from the economic survey, from those compilations from anywhere, and I used to get any facts, but I used to have this compilation of facts and statistics, and I used to use that compilation that I used to make myself in almost all of the GS papers and in my optional paper.
So one comment in the end, just two comments. One is about the interview, because the interview is going to be held for the 2022, means just in the first week of February it is going to start. So can you give some advice to the people who are appearing in the interview, since you
Say my expertise in interview has not been quite good.
so
I scored around 157
Okay.
one time.
But you must be having some learnings.
No. I don't think I'm competent enough to
Okay.
give my advice, especially for the interview, since I have not been that
So
good
you have
with the
reservations
interview.
regarding the
Yes.
interview advice. So another thing that I would like to ask you and burst the myth, maybe, is it important, just in your case, will you say that retrospectively, had you taken coaching for GS and optional, had you been better off in
Can't
terms
say.
of?
If I would have joined any coaching, there won't have been much difference. In fact, some of the friends that I met, they told me that they joined those offline coaching classes. They teach what do they teach you? They teach you basic concepts of 8th standard, 10th standard basic concepts, which if you are going for UPSC preparation, you are quite competent enough to do those concepts yourself. I might suggest that if you are not thorough with your optional, then you may go for optional coaching. But especially for GS, I
And
would
for
say
test series, etc.
test series I would always recommend. test series offline or online, my suggestion would be to do as many tests as
As
possible
many.
from as many sources as possible.
So thank you, Paras, for this free-willing conversation where we are like everything that Paras has said. He has had a unique journey, and he has told this journey to, like, for the first time he is getting interviewed. So that is something unique. They are going to they are going to have the passing out parade just in February, the second week of February. He is a officer of Jharkhand cadre. I wish him all the best for his further endeavors, and thank you so much for taking out time.
Thank you, Vikas.